Hi, Father Joe here, and it's Easter Monday, and Happy Easter. And today we'll read from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 28, verses 8 through 15. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary departed quickly from the tomb, with a mixture of fear and great joy, and they ran to tell the disciples. And behold, Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came up and took hold of his feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid, but go and tell my brothers to go out to Galilee. There they will see me." While they were going, behold, some of the guard went into the city and told the chief priests what had taken place. And when they had assembled with the elders and taken counsel, they gave the guard a sufficient sum of money and said to them, "Tell the people his disciples came by at night and stole his body while you were asleep. And don't worry, if this comes to the governor's attention, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." So they took the money and did as they were directed. And this rumor has been spread among the Jews to this day. Truth. I remember when I was a young man, and this was one of my first professional jobs. I don't think it was my very first, but it was one, and I had been fired from a job before. And I was a tax accountant for a pencil company. And one of my duties was to make their payroll tax deposit after every payroll. And you had 3 days to do it. And one time, and you had to do it by 2 p.m. back then too. That's when the banks changed their days over. So I had to be in the bank by 2 o'clock that day. And there was one time I did the deposit, and I hadn't been working there for very long, probably 3 or 4 months. And I got to the bank after 2 o'clock, and the deposit was late. And I went back, and I figured out on my calculator, it's going to cost us about $2,000 in penalties. And it's going to get caught when I do the 941 return. When I do the quarterly return, I knew it was going to get caught. And I was scared. And I went home that night, and I was thinking about it, and probably even praying about it. But I remember I came up with this plan, and what I was going to do is I figured the IRS, they don't know when we make our payroll. And I think it was the 15th, and we did it on the 15th and the 30th. All I have to do is put the 16th, my payroll tax deposits on the return, my payroll tax deposits on time. It saves us the penalty, and probably save me my job. And I'm glad one thing I did is I told my father about it. And my father looked at me and said, "What?" He says, "Joe, what you need to do is talk to your boss." I said, "Dad, man, they'll fire me." And he said, "They might, but you still need to talk to your boss." And he said, "I'd rather see you get fired for making that mistake than to get away with cheating on their tax return. You've got to tell your boss." And then we talked along, and he said, "They probably won't fire you." He said, "They might. You're taking that risk." But he said, "Joe," and these words, they ring to my ears to this day, "if you can't be competent, at least be trustworthy." And so I went to work. I listened to my father and thought he was right. And I was really scared. And it was after lunch. I waited all morning. I went to my boss. I said, "I got to talk to you, and it's important." Then I told him what I did, told him about the payroll tax deposit. And he wasn't happy, not happy at all. And he says, "Why did you put it off to the last minute?" And I said, "I was just really busy that day." And he says, "Look, if you're busy and you need help, let me know, and I'll get you the help. I'd rather pay somebody than pay the IRS that penalty." And he says, "And let me tell you something, $2,000. We're going to have to sell a lot of pencils at a nickel a piece to make up for your mistake." But I still had my job. And I tell this, it's because lies and truth, and sometimes it seems like the expedient thing to do is to tell a lie to get out of something, And Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, they've seen Jesus rise, and they're going to tell the disciples. It says they have a mixture of fear and joy. Joy because Christ is truly risen. Fear because they don't know how people are going to take the news coming from them. They could be laughed at, ridiculed, possibly even arrested for it. But Jesus appears to him, and he tells him, "Don't be afraid, and keep your joy up, because I truly rose from the dead, and tell the disciples to go to Galilee, and I'll talk to them there." Now, the guard's a little different. The guard go in and they tell the chief priest that he rose from the dead. They tell him what happened. And the chief priests say, well, we got to cover this somehow. And they pay the guard off. And they say, what we want you to do is lie. What we want you to tell people is you fell asleep and they came and stole the body while you were asleep. And then they tell them not to fear, but not to fear, not because of God, but because of the governor. And they say, man, don't worry, if this gets to the ears of the governor, man, he hears about this, we'll pay him off too, and he won't punish you. You'll get away with this. And so it says they do it, and that rumor spreads among the Jews to this day. And the point is, sometimes we are afraid when we have the truth, and the truth is that Jesus Christ rose from the dead. We follow a living God. And we don't know how people take it, but we don't really have to fear the things of this earth, the people of this earth, the powers of this earth. Yeah, we've got God on our side. And he rose from the dead, and he did it for us. He did it out of forgiveness. And so, out of forgiveness, mercy, and love, actually. And so we're not afraid. We're not afraid to stick to the truth. And in these times, we get a little afraid sometimes with the coronavirus, but to know we have a Savior, Jesus Christ. And he came, and he's more powerful than anything on this earth. And he doesn't do anything for our harm. He does it for our good. What we have to do is trust him and follow him. And then we have nothing to fear. God bless you, and happy Easter.